Let's take a minute to review the learning goals for Chapter 6. Chapter 6 brings us the concept of elasticity, which measures how a change in one economic variable results in a change in another economic variable. We introduced several common elasticity measures, including price elasticity of supply, income elasticity of demand, cross-price elasticity of demand, and of course, price elasticity of demand, which was the focus of most of our learning. We learned that when we categorize elasticity, the measure can range from perfectly inelastic, which occurs when the quantity demanded of a good does not change at all in response to a change in the price of that good, to relatively inelastic, to unit elastic, when the change in the price of a good and the quantity demanded of the good are the same or equal, to relatively elastic, when the change in the quantity of the good demanded is larger than the change in the price that drove the quantity demanded change in the first place, to perfectly elastic, which is more of a conceptual idea than something we expect to actually see in real life. We learned that the arc elasticity formula, also known as the midpoint formula, is the most consistent, easiest way to calculate price elasticity of demand. We also learned the various characteristics of goods that determine the price elasticity of demand, these determinants of price elasticity of demand. We also saw how the elasticity of a good can impact the total revenue earned from sale of a good, depending on how responsive consumers are to a change in the price. Finally, we used this knowledge that we learned all about elasticity to return to the question of tax incidence from Chapter 4 and consider how the elasticity of demand for a good can impact whether the burden of a tax falls on the consumers or the producers. As we saw, if the demand for a good is inelastic, consumers have little ability to change their quantity demanded, so they will bear the burden of the tax. And when the demand for a good is elastic, consumers have a great ability to change their quantity demanded, so it is the producers who will bear the burden of the tax. These elasticity concepts help us to further understand our foundational economic tenet that says incentives in economic systems impact choice in predictable ways. As we can now predict, ceteris paribus, where the burden of a new tax would fall. If you're ready, you should turn now to the Chapter 9 materials, as we'll be returning to the ideas of scarcity, opportunity cost, and trade, but in an international setting. Note that we're skipping ahead all the way to Chapter 9. Remember, you can always bring any questions you have to my office hours or to the tutor for this course, and by now you know you can book the tutor through the Academic Resources tab, and you can book me on our course homepage, or just come to walk-in office hours. That information is on the homepage of our EC Learn course.